The Great Hall of the Galactic Council stretched out like a giant dome. 12 different alien species sat in their special seats around the circular room. Each seat was built for different body types. Some floated in the air, others touched the ground. All eyes looked down at the center where 3 humans stood waiting. Ambassador Hyunwoo straightened his dark blue uniform. He had traveled 3 months to reach this place. His hands stayed calm at his sides even though he could feel the fear and anger from every alien in the room. Next to him stood Commander Jinna. Her military uniform had burn marks and scratches from many battles. The third human was Elder Taemin. His white hair and wrinkled face showed his many years of trying to make peace between different worlds. The Velkan delegate moved first. Her snake-like body was as thick as a tree trunk. Her scales changed from green to red as she became angry. She lifted her massive head and spoke with a voice like breaking glass. Why do the humans think they can join us? They are destroyers. They are killers. In only 300 years they have spread across space like a disease. Whispers filled the hall. The Thorak Prime Minister looked like a mountain made of purple crystal. Light flowed through his body as he thought. Then his thoughts became words that everyone could understand. The humans do not build. They take. They do not create. They destroy. Every world they touch becomes empty of life. They mine planets until nothing is left but rock and dust. Commander Jinna did not move. She had heard these words many times before. Every alien species knew her name. They called her the Iron Maiden of Proxima. 3 years ago, she had fought alone against 50 enemy ships for 3 whole days. She did this so that civilian families could escape to safety. She won that battle. She always won. The small Nimari delegate looked like a tiny person with wings. She usually made music when she talked. Today she stayed silent. Her big eyes showed fear as she looked at the humans. They expand faster than any species we have ever seen, she finally said. Her voice was like wind chimes. They have no limits. They take system after system. Soon they will take everything. More voices joined in. The Zephyrian war chief stood up. His people were known as the best fighters in the galaxy. Even they were afraid of humans. His armor was black and covered with the marks of 1,000 battles. My people have fought every species in this room. We have won most fights, but humans... He stopped talking. His 3 eyes looked at Commander Jinna. Humans have never lost a war. Not one war in 300 years. Every fight ends the same way. Human victory. The truth hung in the air like smoke. Every alien in the room knew it. Humans were only one species among thousands. They had started with just one small blue planet. But now they controlled more space than any 3 alien empires combined. They had never been defeated in battle. Not once. The Corvian scientist spoke next. His people were masters of technology. They had created faster ships and better weapons than anyone else. But even they could not match human war machines. Their technology advances too quickly. What takes us 50 years to develop, they create in 5. Their ships are faster. Their weapons are stronger. Their soldiers are... He searched for the right word. Unstoppable. Ambassador Hyunwoo listened to every word. He had expected this reaction. Every human diplomat who came to these meetings heard the same complaints, the same fears, the same accusations. But today was different. Today he had something new to offer. The Arctian delegate spoke from his water tank. His fish-like body moved through the blue liquid as he talked. They show no mercy in battle. They fight until their enemies are completely destroyed. They do not take prisoners. They do not accept surrender. They fight until they win or until they die. This was also true. Human military doctrine was simple. Win completely or die trying. It made them feared across the galaxy. It also made them very effective. Elder Taemin stepped forward. His old voice carried clearly through the hall. You speak of our military power. You speak of our expansion. You speak of our victories. All of this is true, but you do not speak of why we fight. The aliens looked confused. They had never thought about human motivations. To them, humans seemed like a force of nature, like a storm that destroys everything in its path. We fight for our children. Taemin said simply. Every battle, every expansion, every new colony. We do it all for the next generation, the Velkan delegate hissed with laughter. All species protect their young. This is nothing special. But Commander Jinnah spoke for the first time. Her voice was quiet, but everyone heard every word. Our children are different from yours. You will understand this soon. The Thorak Prime Minister pulsed with curious light. What do you mean different? Ambassador Hyunwoo smiled. It was not a threatening smile. It was warm and peaceful. This confused the aliens even more than anger would have. Your children are born already thinking like adults? Hyunwoo said. They learn war first. They learn survival first. They learn to compete and to conquer and to take what they need. He walked slowly around the center of the room. Every alien eye followed him. Human. Children are born different. They are born curious. They want to learn about everything. They see beauty where adults see only resources. They imagine impossible things and then find ways to make them real. They trust strangers. They share their toys. They believe in magic. The hall became very quiet. Some aliens looked confused. Others looked suspicious. A few looked interested. This sounds like weakness, the Zephyrian war chief said. Does it? Elder Taemin asked. Think about this. We are the species that has never lost a war. We expand faster than anyone else. We create new technology constantly. We solve problems that others cannot solve. And we do all of this to protect beings who believe in magic and share their toys. The silence stretched longer now. The aliens were beginning to understand something they had never considered before. Ambassador Hyunwoo looked around the room one more time. Then he spoke the words that would change everything. We have come here today with an offer that no species has ever made to another in the history of the galaxy. He paused and looked directly at each alien delegate. We offer to raise your children. The explosion of voices that followed could be heard 3 levels away from the council chamber. But Ambassador Hyunwoo just stood calmly in the center of it all. He knew that fear and anger were just the first reactions. Soon would come curiosity, then would come hope, and then everything would change. The chaos in the council chamber was unlike anything the building had ever seen. 12 different species all shouted at once. Some roared, others hissed. A few made sounds that had no human comparison. The translation systems could not keep up with the storm of angry voices. Silence. The Thorak Prime Minister's crystal body flashed bright white. The boom of his mental voice made everyone stop talking instantly. Even the humans felt the power of his command. Ambassador Hyunwoo stood, perfectly still in the center of it all. He had expected this reaction. Commander Jinnah placed her hand on her sidearm but did not draw it. Elder Taemin actually looked pleased by the outburst. The Velkan delegate was the first to recover. Her scales had turned deep black with rage. She raised her massive snake body high above the humans and spoke with pure venom in her voice. You want us to give our children to killers, to monsters, to the species that destroys everything it touches? Never, growled the Zephyrian war chief. His 3 eyes burned with hatred. I would die before I let humans near our young. The small, Nimari delegate flew around her platform in tight circles. Her wings buzzed like angry insects. This is madness, complete madness. Why would we trust our most precious ones to our greatest enemies? But Elder Taemin raised his hand for quiet. His old voice carried surprising strength. You misunderstand our offer. We do not want to take your children away from you. We want to teach them alongside our own children. This made the aliens pause. They had not expected this explanation. The Corvian scientist leaned forward. His forearms moved as he calculated possibilities in his mind. Explain this teaching. What would our children learn from humans? Commander Jinnah stepped forward. For the first time since entering the chamber, she looked relaxed, almost happy. They would learn what human children know naturally: how to dream, how to play, how to see wonder in simple things. Play, spat the Arctian delegate from his water tank. Our children do not need to play. They need to learn survival. They need to learn skills. They need to learn how to compete. In a dangerous galaxy, Ambassador Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Yes, that is exactly the problem. The statement confused everyone. Even some of the human security guards looked puzzled. Your species are all ancient, Hyunwoo continued. You have survived in this galaxy for thousands of years, some of you for millions of years. You have seen terrible wars. You have faced extinction multiple times. You have learned that life is hard and dangerous and unforgiving. He walked to the viewing window that showed the space outside. Stars glittered like diamonds against the black. So you teach your children these hard truths from birth. Your babies learn fear before they learn joy. Your young ones study war before they study art. Your children become adults before they ever get to be children. The Thorak Prime Minister pulsed with thoughtful colors. This is wisdom. This is survival. This is how species continue to exist. Is it? Elder Taman asked gently. Then why are your birth rates falling? Why do your young ones seem tired before they even begin their adult lives? Why do your cultures create less art, less music, less beauty than they did in the past? The silence that followed was different from before. It was uncomfortable. It was the silence of truth that no one wanted to admit. The Velkan delegate coiled tighter around her platform. What does this have to do with your offer? Commander Jinnah smiled. It was the first time any alien had seen a human smile in these chambers. It was warm and genuine and somehow made her look less frightening. Human children spend years doing nothing but learning and playing, she said. They ask questions about everything. They imagine impossible things. They create stories and games and art. They trust easily. They share without thinking about it. They believe that problems can be solved and that tomorrow will be better than today. And this makes them weak, stated the Zephyrian war chief. Does it? Asked Ambassador Hyunwoo. These same children grow up to become the humans you fear. The humans who have never lost a war. The humans who solve impossible problems. The humans who create new technologies faster than anyone else. Turned back to face the assembled aliens. What if the reason we are so effective as adults is because we were allowed to be curious and creative as children? What if our strength comes from our children's dreams? The Nimari delegate stopped flying, in circles. She hovered in place with her tiny mouth open in surprise. You think childhood imagination creates adult capability? We know it does, Elder Taman said firmly. We have studied this for centuries. Children who are allowed to play become adults, who can think in new ways. Children who are encouraged to ask questions become adults who find new answers. Children who believe in magic become adults who make impossible things happen. The Corvian scientist's arms moved faster as he processed this information. You are suggesting that our focus on early practical education is actually limiting our development potential. We are suggesting that you try something different, Ambassador Hyunwoo said. We offer joint education facilities, places where your children and our children learn together. Your young ones will teach ours about survival and strength and the realities of the galaxy. Our children will teach yours about wonder and creativity and the belief that anything is possible. The Arctian delegate spoke slowly from his tank. What makes you think this would work? What makes you think our children would benefit from human influence? Commander Jinnah reached into her uniform pocket. She pulled out a small device and activated it. A holographic image appeared in the center of the chamber. The image showed a human child, who could not have been more than 6 years old. The girl sat in a garden drawing pictures in the dirt with a stick. But her drawings were not simple stick figures. They were complex mathematical equations that described the motion of planets around stars. This is my daughter Da-eun, Jinnah said quietly. She is 6 years old. She cannot read or write yet, but she understands orbital mechanics better than most adult engineers. Not because we taught her, but because she was curious about why the moon changes shape. A second image appeared. This showed the same child playing with blocks. But the blocks formed a structure that defied gravity. They somehow supported each other in impossible ways. She built this yesterday, Jinnah continued. Our architects are studying it to understand how the balance works. She cannot explain how she did it. She just said it looked right. The images faded. The chamber was silent again. This is what human children do naturally, Elder Tayman said. They learn by playing. They solve problems by imagining. They create new things by combining ideas that adults think do not go together. Ambassador Hyunwoo looked around the room one final time. We offer to share this with you, to let your children experience the kind of learning that creates the humans you fear and respect. In return, our children will learn from yours about strength and survival, and the wisdom that comes from ancient experience. The Thorak Prime Minister, pulsed with colors that had no name. You would trust us with your most precious ones. After all we have said about you, after all the fear we have shown. Yes, said all three humans at the same time. And in that simple word, everything began to change. 6 months had passed since the meeting at the Galactic Council. The planet Kepler 442b looked nothing like the empty world it had been before. Humans had built something here that had never existed in the galaxy, a place designed entirely for children from different worlds to learn together. Director Soo Young stood at the main observation window, watching construction crews put the finishing touches on the playground equipment. Some of the structures looked normal, swings and slides that human children would recognize. Others were strange and wonderful, climbing towers that changed shape, pools filled with liquid that glowed different colors, flying platforms that responded to thought. Everything had been designed by teams of human and alien engineers working together. It was the first time such cooperation had ever happened. The results were beautiful and impossible and completely functional. The first transport arrives in 2 hours, said Dr. Minho, the facility's head of alien biology. He looked nervous. They all did. This experiment could change the galaxy forever, or it could fail completely and make relations between species worse than ever. Soo-young nodded. She had been a military engineer before becoming a child psychologist. She had built weapons that could destroy cities. Now she was building something that might save them all. The irony was not lost on her. The first ship appeared as a small dot against the orange sky. It grew larger quickly. The Velkan transport ship landed with surprising gentleness on the designated pad. Steam rose from its organic-looking hull as it cooled. Soo-young walked to the landing area with her team. Her heart beat faster as the ship's door opened. She was about to meet the first non-human children ever to be voluntarily placed in human care. The adult Velkan who emerged first was massive even for her species. Her scales were deep purple with gold edges. This was Commander Thek, one of the most respected military leaders in Velkan space. She had volunteered her own child for the program. Behind her came something that made Soo-young's breath catch. The young Velkan was smaller than she had expected, no bigger than a human 10-year-old. His scales shifted constantly from color to color, showing his nervousness and confusion. His large eyes looked everywhere at once, taking in this strange new world. "This is Nix," Commander Thek said through the translation device. "He has never been away from Velkan space. He has never seen aliens except in military briefings." Nix coiled closer to his parent. His scales turned pale blue, which Soo-young knew meant fear in Velkan body language. The second transport arrived before they could finish greeting the first. This one was Thorak built, a crystal ship that seemed to be grown rather than constructed. The young Thorak who emerged was unlike anything the humans had seen. She was about the size of a human child, but made entirely of living crystal that pulsed with soft pink light. "I am called Grix," the young Thorak said. Her voice came from the translation device, but somehow seemed to ring like music. "I am here to learn about human childhood." More ships arrived throughout the day. Each brought children from different species. A Zephyrian boy whose 3 eyes could see things humans could not imagine. A Nimari girl whose wings let her fly but who had never played any games. An Arctian youth who breathed water instead of air and had never seen dry land. By evening, 12 non-human children had arrived at the facility. They stayed close to the buildings and far from each other. They spoke only when adults asked them direct questions. They showed no curiosity about their new surroundings. They acted exactly like small adults in strange bodies. "This is going to be harder than we thought," Dr. Minho said quietly to Su-young as they watched the alien children eat dinner in careful silence. But Su-young was watching something else. 20 human children had also arrived that day. The children of human staff members and volunteers. Unlike the alien children, these humans were loud and messy and constantly moving. They asked questions about everything. They wanted to touch and explore and play with anything they could reach. "Maybe," she said. "But look." 6-year-old Da-yoon had finished her dinner and was now sitting on the floor near the alien children's table. She had a box of colored drawing sticks and a large piece of paper. She was not trying to talk to the aliens. She was not even looking at them directly. She was simply drawing. The picture she made was simple, but beautiful. A big yellow sun. Green trees with purple flowers. Stick figures holding hands under a blue sky. As she drew, she hummed a little song. She seemed completely happy and unaware that 12 pairs of alien eyes were watching every move she made. Young Nix's scales began to change color. The pale blue of fear shifted to lighter shades. Curiosity colors started to appear. His snake-like head moved closer to see what the small human was creating. Daeun noticed the movement. She looked up at Nix with bright eyes and a huge smile. Without saying a word, she held out a red drawing stick to him. Nix looked at the stick, like it might bite him. He had never been offered anything by an alien before. He had been taught that other species were dangerous, that they should be avoided or fought but never trusted. But Da-eun just kept smiling and holding out the stick. Her expression showed no fear at all. She acted like sharing with a giant snake creature was the most normal thing in the world. Very slowly, Nix reached out and took the drawing stick in his smaller front appendage. Daeun clapped her hands with delight. She pointed to the paper and then made drawing motions in the air. Nix looked at the paper, then at the stick, then at Daeun's encouraging face. Finally, he pressed the stick to the paper and made a small, red mark. Daeun cheered like he had just performed magic. She grabbed a blue stick and made a mark next to his. Then she pushed the paper toward him so he could make another mark if he wanted. Within minutes, other human children had noticed what was happening. They came over with their own drawing supplies, but they did not crowd around or make loud noises. Somehow they understood that this moment was delicate and important. 8-year-old June sat down near Grix and began building something with small blocks. He did not ask her to help. He just built quietly while she watched. The blocks formed interesting patterns that caught the light from her crystal body and threw rainbow colors on the walls. 10-year-old Minho started a simple clapping game near the Zephyrian boy, just clapping his hands in rhythm, not trying to get the alien to join, just making an interesting pattern of sounds. By the time the sun set, something impossible was happening. Nix was still drawing with Da-eun. His marks had become more confident. His scales showed colors that his parent had said meant happiness. Grix was carefully placing blocks next to June's structure. Her crystal body pulsed in time with his movements. The Zephyrian boy was tapping one finger along with Minho's clapping rhythm. Most amazing of all, the alien children were making sounds, not words, not their formal adult languages, but the universal sounds of childhood, laughter, giggles, little gasps of surprise and delight. Su-young watched from the doorway with tears in her eyes. In one afternoon, human children had done what diplomats and politicians had failed to do in centuries. They had made first contact not with weapons or words, but with crayons and blocks and simple kindness. The experiment was working, but none of them could have predicted just how much it would change everything. 3 years had changed everything. Director Su-young stood in the same observation window where she had watched the first nervous meeting between human and alien children. Now she watched something that would have been impossible to imagine back then. In the playground below, Nix was teaching a group of human children how to move through tight spaces by flowing like water. His snake-like body showed them techniques that only Velkans knew, but he explained it using words and concepts he had learned from humans. He talked about making the movement feel like dancing and imagining you are liquid starlight. The human children tried to copy him. They were not very good at it, Their bodies were not built for flowing motion, but they laughed as they tried, and Nix's scales showed the happy colors of someone enjoying teaching others. On the other side of the playground, Grix was working with a mixed group of human and alien children to build something extraordinary. The structure looked like it was made of crystal and metal and wood all at the same time. It served no practical purpose that adults could understand. But the children loved it. They climbed through it and around it and used it for games that seemed to have no rules but somehow worked perfectly. The first evaluation reports are complete, Dr. Minho said as he joined Su Young at the window. His voice carried excitement and disbelief in equal measure. The results are beyond anything we hoped for. Su Young took the datapad he offered. The numbers were indeed extraordinary. But numbers could not capture what she saw with her own eyes every day. The transformation was deeper than any measurement could show. Look at this report from the Velkin Council, Minho continued. Nix presented them with a proposal last month. He wants to redesign their mining operations to create beauty while extracting resources. The council has never received such an idea from anyone, especially not from someone his age. Su Young scrolled through more reports. Similar stories came from every species that had children in the program. Young Grix had introduced the concept of emotional architecture to the Thorax civilization. Buildings that served practical needs while also making people feel peaceful and happy. The Zephyrian boy had created new battle formations that were more effective than traditional ones, but also involved protecting, rather than just destroying. They are not becoming more human, Su Young said thoughtfully. They are becoming more themselves, but better versions of themselves. This was the key discovery that nobody had expected. The alien children were not losing their natural abilities or cultural traits. Instead, they were learning to use those traits in new ways that had never occurred to their adult societies. The Nimari girl had developed new forms of music that incorporated mathematical principles she learned from human children. The songs were more beautiful than traditional Nimari compositions, but also more complex and emotionally moving. The Arctian youth had designed underwater cities that copied the playful structures he saw human children build on dry land. His ideas solved engineering problems that had puzzled Arctian architects for centuries, but the most surprising discovery was happening to the human children as well. Dr. Sangho wants to see you in Laboratory 7, Minho said. He says he has found something important about the human children's development. Su Young walked through corridors filled with the sounds of children learning and playing together. Human voices mixed with alien sounds in languages that were becoming less foreign every day. Some of the children were even creating new languages that combined elements from multiple species. Dr. Sangho looked up from his instruments as she entered the lab. His expression was a mixture of excitement and confusion. Look at these brain scans, he said without greeting. This is Dayun from 3 years ago. This is Dayun from last week. The images showed significant changes in brain structure and activity. Areas responsible for pattern recognition had grown larger. Sections dealing with mathematical processing showed increased complexity. Most interesting were completely new, neural pathways that had never been observed in baseline human children. She can see electromagnetic fields now, Sangho said quietly. Not clearly like the Zephyrians can, but she senses them. She knows when storms are coming hours before our weather equipment detects them. She can find metal objects underground just by walking over them. More scans showed other human children developing enhanced abilities, better mathematical intuition, improved spatial reasoning. Some could even sense emotions in ways that seemed almost telepathic. The alien children are not just learning human traits, Sangho continued. The human children are developing alien capabilities. This is not just cultural exchange. This is accelerated evolution for both sides. Su Young stared at the data. The implications were staggering. If children from different species could develop each other's abilities, then the potential for advancement was unlimited. Have you told the parents about this? She asked. Some of them. The reactions have been mixed. Most human parents are excited. They see the enhanced abilities as gifts. But some of the alien parents are concerned. They worry that their children are becoming too different from their home cultures. This was the challenge that Su Young had been expecting. Change always brought fear, especially when that change involved children. But she had also seen the joy in these children's faces. They were not losing themselves. They were becoming more than anyone had thought possible. A soft chime indicated that the afternoon play session was beginning. Su-young returned to her observation window to watch the daily miracle that had become routine. 12 human children and 12 alien children ran out into the playground together. They moved in mixed groups with no regard for species differences. They had games that required abilities from multiple cultures. They solved problems by combining different types of thinking. They created art that no single species could have imagined, but most importantly, they were happy. Genuinely, joyfully, completely happy in ways that children from their home worlds rarely experienced. They had learned that differences were not barriers but opportunities, that other ways of thinking were not threats but treasures. "Director Su-young," came a voice from the communication system. "We have a priority message from the Galactic Council. They want a full report on the program's progress. Representatives from 47 different worlds are requesting information about establishing similar facilities." Su-young smiled. The transformation was spreading beyond the children. Entire civilizations were beginning to recognize that their approach to childhood might need to change. "Tell them we will provide all the information they need," she said, "but remind them that this is not about copying what we do here. This is about allowing children to discover what they can become when they are free to learn from each other." In the playground below, a new game was beginning. It required Vulcan flexibility, thorac pattern recognition, Zephyrian sensory abilities, and human creativity all working together. None of the children could play it alone, but together, they made it look effortless. The transformation was no longer an experiment. It was the future, and the future looked brighter than anyone had dared to imagine. The meeting took place in the deep caves of Zerion 7, a mining world far from any major shipping routes. The assembled beings represented the old guard of 7 different species, military leaders who had spent their lives fighting, politicians who believed in species purity, scientists who thought change was dangerous. General Ket of the Vulcan war caste dominated the center of the cavern. Her massive serpent body coiled around a raised platform made of black stone. Her scales showed the deep red colors of anger and determination. Around her sat similar leaders from other worlds. "The humans are destroying our children," Ket hissed. Her voice echoed off the cave walls like the sound of breaking metal. "They fill their minds with useless dreams. They make them weak. They teach them to trust enemies." The Zephyrian General Vec struck the stone floor with his weapon. The sound rang out like a bell in the enclosed space. "My people have been warriors for 10,000 years. Now my nephew comes home talking about art and music and peaceful solutions. He has forgotten what it means to be Zephyrian." Thorac Commander. Zill's crystal body pulsed with harsh white light. "Our young ones no longer think in practical terms. They design buildings for beauty instead of function. They care more about how things feel than how they work. This is not progress, this is decay." The Arctian Admiral Flux spoke from a portable water tank. "The contamination is spreading. Worlds that do not even have children in the program are requesting information about human teaching methods. Our ancient ways are being questioned everywhere." General Ket raised her head high above the others. "We are here because we understand the truth that our governments refuse to see. The humans are not trying to help us, they are trying to conquer us. But instead of using weapons, they are using our own children against us." Nods and sounds of agreement came from around the cavern. These leaders had seen the reports. They knew about the changes happening to alien children who spent time with humans. To them, it looked like a form of warfare more subtle and dangerous than any they had faced before. "The solution is simple," Admiral Flux declared. "We remove all our children from human influence. We close the joint facilities. We return to the old ways of education that have served us for millennia." But the Corvian General Hex disagreed. His forearms moved as he spoke, showing his agitation. "Closing the facilities will not be enough. The damage is already done. Children who have been exposed to human influence will return to our worlds carrying these ideas. They will spread the contamination to others. "Then what do you suggest?" asked General Kett. "We stop the transport ships," Hex said quietly. "We prevent any more children from reaching human space. We show the galaxy that this program is too dangerous to continue." The cavern fell silent. Everyone understood what he was suggesting: an attack on civilian transports, an act that would be seen as terrorism by most of the galaxy, but also an act that would send a clear message about the dangers of trusting humans. "The risk is significant," Commander Zill pointed out. "If we fail, the backlash could destroy our cause completely." General Kett's scales shifted to the black color of absolute determination. "If we do nothing, our species will lose their identity completely. Our children will become human in everything but body. That is a fate worse than any military defeat." The vote was close, but fear of change won over fear of consequences. The attack would happen. 3 days later, Captain Young-Soo received an urgent message while his ship escorted a passenger transport toward Earth. The Soul's Pride was one of the newer human frigates, fast and well-armed but not designed for heavy combat. Its mission was protection, not warfare. "Captain," called his communications officer, "I am detecting multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They are not broadcasting identification codes." Young-Soo moved to the main display. What he saw made his blood run cold. 15 warships from 7 different species arranged in attack formation. Their weapons were already charging. "All ships identify yourselves," he broadcast on all frequencies. "This is a civilian transport under diplomatic protection." The response came from General Kett herself. "Human vessel, you are carrying stolen children. Surrender them immediately or face the consequences." Young-Soo looked at his tactical display. His single frigate against 15 enemy warships. The transport he was protecting carried 43 children. 21 were human. 22 were alien children returning home after completing their education program. Standard military doctrine was clear. Against overwhelming odds, retreat was the only logical choice. The civilian lives took priority over everything else. But then, something unexpected happened. "Captain Young-Soo," came a small voice from the transport ship's communication system. "This is Kex. I am a Zephyrian child aboard the transport. I need to speak with you." Young-Soo hesitated. He had met Kex during planning meetings for the escort mission. The boy was 9 years old and had spent 2 years learning alongside human children. He was supposed to be in the transport's protected shelter area with the other passengers. "Kex, you should be in the safety area," Young-Soo said. "I am here with my human friend Heywan," Kex replied. "We have an idea, but we need you to trust us." Young-Soo looked at his tactical officer, who shrugged helplessly. They had perhaps 5 minutes before the enemy ships reached firing range. No military solution existed that could save everyone. "What is your idea?" Young-Soo asked. What followed became known throughout the galaxy as the Children's Gambit. 9-year-old Kex combined his natural Zephyrian battle instincts with creative problem-solving techniques he had learned from humans. 7-year-old Haiwan contributed mathematical insights that only someone who thought like a child could conceive. Together, they proposed using the transport itself not as a target but as a broadcast station. Instead of running or fighting, they would turn the ship into something no military force could attack without destroying their own cause. "Open all communication channels," Young-Soo ordered. He was either about to save everyone or get them all killed. But he had learned to trust the impossible ideas that came from children who had been taught to dream. The broadcast that followed reached every ship in the area, not tactical data or military demands, something far more powerful. Children's voices. Human and alien children singing together. Songs from a dozen different worlds but harmonized in ways that made them universal. Laughter that sounded the same regardless of species. Stories told in mixed languages that somehow everyone could understand. The effect on the attacking fleet was immediate and devastating. These were not faceless enemies or military targets. These were children, young voices that reminded every soldier of their own childhood or their own offspring. "Continue the attack," General Kett commanded, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. "General," came the voice of a thorax ship captain, These are children singing, our children. They are contaminated, Ket hissed. They are no longer truly ours, but the damage was done. The attack fleet hesitated. Some ships powered down their weapons. Others began backing away. The simple, honest joy of children's voices had accomplished what no military tactic could achieve. The broadcast continued for 20 minutes. Children from different worlds sharing jokes and stories and songs, showing the galaxy what they had learned from each other, demonstrating that cooperation was not contamination, but growth. When it ended, 7 of the 15 enemy ships had withdrawn completely. The remaining 8 faced a choice: attack children whose voices they had just heard singing, or admit that perhaps the old ways were not always the best ways. General Ket was the last to retreat. Her final transmission reached both the human ships and every news organization in the galaxy. "This is not over," she declared. "But today we will not fire on children. We are not monsters, even if we believe the humans are." The transport and its escort reached Earth safely. The children aboard had not only survived, but had shown the galaxy something new. That innocence could be a weapon more powerful than any military force. That the voices of young ones learning to trust each other could stop wars before they started. The opposition had failed. But more importantly, they had learned something they had not expected. Their enemy was not humanity. Their enemy was fear of change itself. And that was a much harder foe to defeat. 5 years had passed since Ambassador Hyun-woo first stood in the Galactic Council chambers, asking for humanity's acceptance. Today he stood in the same place, but everything else had changed completely. The chamber itself looked different. Where once there had been 12 isolated platforms for 12 separate species, now there were dozens of mixed seating areas. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat together in groups organized not by species, but by common interests and shared projects. Hyun-woo's hair was gray now, but his eyes were brighter than they had been years ago. Next to him stood Admiral Jin-ah, promoted from her old position as commander. Her uniform bore new insignia showing her role as Director of Galactic Defense, but more importantly, it bore small patches given to her by children from dozens of worlds. Elder Tae-min was also present, though age had slowed his movements. His sharp mind was as clear as ever. He watched the proceedings with the satisfaction of someone who had seen his greatest hopes become reality. The speaker addressing the council was not human. Young Nix had grown into an impressive adult Velkan. His scales now showed the deep purple and silver colors of wisdom and authority, but they also carried artistic patterns that told the story of his unique upbringing. 5 years ago, my people called humans destroyers, Nix said. His voice carried the formal tones expected in council chambers, but also warmth that pure Velkan speakers never showed. Today I stand before you as Prime Delegate of the Velkan Republic. I was chosen not despite my human education, but because of it. He gestured to the viewing screens around the chamber. Images appeared showing worlds that most of the original council members would not recognize. This is New Velkan, our latest colony world. Instead of strip mining it for resources, we have shaped it to be both productive and beautiful. Our cities generate more wealth than our old industrial complexes while also serving as works of art that inspire all who see them. The images changed to show thorac crystal cities that seemed to sing with harmony, Zephyrian battle fleets that protected rather than conquered, Arctian underwater gardens that turned ocean floors into places of wonder. We have learned what humans knew from the beginning, Nix continued. That strength and beauty are not opposites. That efficiency and joy can work together. That taking care of children is not a weakness but the source of all true power. The statistics that followed told the real story. Interspecies conflicts had dropped to levels not seen in recorded history. Scientific advancement had accelerated beyond all predictions as different types of intelligence learned to work together. Cultural renaissance movements bloomed on worlds that had known only military and industrial development for centuries. But the most important changes could not be measured in numbers. A new generation was growing up across the galaxy. Children, who had never known a time when different species could not be friends. Young beings who thought cooperation was normal and suspicion was strange. They played games that required abilities from multiple species. They created art that no single culture could have imagined. They solved problems by combining different ways of thinking. The human offer to raise our children was not charity, declared Grix, who had become the youngest Thorak Council member in history. Her crystal body pulsed with colors of happiness and gratitude. It was wisdom. They understood that childhood is when the future is created. They knew that children who learn together will build together. Admiral Jinnah was called forward to present the military assessment. The numbers she shared would have seemed impossible 5 years earlier. Galactic defense spending has decreased by 60%, she reported. Not because we are less safe, but because we are more united. The threats that remain are being addressed by combined forces from multiple species working as single units. She activated a holographic display showing a battle formation that looked like a dance. Ships from 7 different species moved in perfect coordination. Each contributed their unique strengths while covering others' weaknesses. Human aggression has been redirected toward exploration and protection rather than conquest. We fight, now only to defend the new society we have built together. A society where every child, regardless of species, has the chance to reach their full potential. The formal presentations continued for hours. Representatives from world after world shared similar stories. Old conflicts resolved. New partnerships formed. Scientific breakthroughs achieved through cooperation. Art and culture flourishing in ways not seen for millennia. But the most moving moment came when the children themselves were invited to speak. Da-Un was 13 now, no longer the small girl who had first offered a drawing stick to a frightened alien child. She stood confidently before the assembly with friends from 6 different species beside her. Adults always worry about the future, she said in a clear voice that reached every corner of the chamber. But we are the future, and we are not worried at all. The alien children with her nodded agreement. They had grown up thinking of each other as family rather than foreigners. We know things you forgot how to know, continued young Kex, the Zephyrian boy who had helped save the transport years earlier. We know that different does not mean dangerous. We know that sharing makes everyone stronger. We know that the best games are the ones where everyone gets to play. You spent thousands of years being afraid of each other, added Grix's younger sister, whose crystal body sparkled with rainbow colors. We spent our whole lives learning from each other. Which way do you think works better? The laughter that followed was warm and genuine. These children had no patience for ancient fears and old grudges. They had grown up in a galaxy where cooperation was normal and hatred was rare. Elder Taemin was invited to give the closing statement. He walked slowly to the center of the chamber, his aged form supported by a walking stick carved by children from 12 different worlds. When we first came here, he said in a voice that carried despite its frailness, you feared us because we were good at war. You were right to fear us. We were dangerous. We had spent our entire history fighting each other and everything else we met. He looked around the chamber at faces that now showed respect rather than terror. But we learned something from our own children, that the reason we were so good at fighting was not because we loved violence. It was because we loved our children. Every battle we won was won to protect the next generation. Every new world we claimed was claimed so our children would have somewhere to grow and dream and build. His voice grew stronger as he continued. You taught us that other species had children worth protecting too. Your young ones showed us that the future we were fighting for did not have to belong to humans alone. It could belong to all of us. The final vote was not even close. Humanity was not just accepted into the Galactic Council, but invited to establish the Department of Interspecies Childhood Development, with facilities planned for every major system. As the session concluded, Admiral Jinnah walked to the chamber's great viewing window. Through the transparent aluminum, she could see the council station's residential areas. Mixed groups of children played in gardens designed by young minds from dozens of worlds. Human kids taught Thorak youngsters to make flower chains. Zephyrian adolescents showed human toddlers how to sense magnetic fields. Felkin teenagers helped Nimari children build flying sculptures. The galaxy's most feared military force had found their greatest victory, not through conquest but through nurturing, not by destroying their enemies, but by raising their enemies. children alongside their own. They had learned that true strength was not the power to take life but the wisdom to help it grow. And in protecting not just human children, but all children, humanity had finally earned its place among the stars. The future belonged to beings who had learned to see the universe through each other's eyes, and that future was brighter than anyone had ever dared to dream. In the end, the humans had kept their promise. They had shared the secret of their strength. It was not their weapons or their technology or their tactical brilliance. It was love. Pure and simple and powerful enough to transform a galaxy. The children playing in the gardens below were proof that sometimes the most impossible dreams were the ones most worth fighting for.